taking on two-time world team member on the Greco-Roman side, Braden Strauffenberg for the Michigan State Spartans. So if you're looking for more fireworks from the upper body position, don't blink.
Well, the El Matador, you know, Team Mexico representative at 65 kilograms, Austin Gomez. I mean, he's not wasting any time right now. Eric, as he goes for it right away. Wow. I mean, the speed of lightning with the Greco ability of a guy like Andy Bisek. I mean, that's kind of Austin Gomez when I look at it. You got a guy that's so quick, but he's so lethal upper body.
Austin Gomez, the graduate student, of course, Iowa State, then went to Wisconsin, and now here at the University of Michigan. And in speaking with Coach Bourmet, just said, this is a guy who has high-level expectations for himself. And yes, he is concentrated on winning a national title here for the University of Michigan, but in a few weeks he has to switch that focus to going down to Acapulco, Mexico for the Pan Am Olympic qualifier and qualifying Mexico for the 2024 Olympic Games.
Well, yeah, and that's no easy feat. I mean, USA obviously did not qualify the weight at the World Championship, so you got, as well as Cuba. So two countries that are unanimous for being in the Olympics, and now you got another guy that's coming down from the United States representing his home country in Mexico. So, you know, Austin Gomez, I think if anybody can switch gears, Roman Bravo-Young, another one, Penn State national champion wrestling for Mexico. So both of those guys pushing each other to obviously make each other better, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does at the NCAA tournament with keeping that in mind.
Head inside single for Austin Gomez to the left leg of Braden Strauffenberg as he shelves it to his opposite hip. And there goes another three-point takedown.
The three-point takedown changed the whole dynamic of wrestling, I think, this year. Rewarding guys that are aggressors, because I think when you get a three-point takedown now, it encourages you to wrestle a lot more. And you know, you can argue with top wrestling and say the four-point near fall did the same thing with top wrestling, but I think that three-point takedown now is rewarding guys a lot more to get that takedown, because now an escape is only, I mean, it's changed, still 1 point, but it changes the lead to 2 points. So.
A lot of people keep asking me, what are my thoughts on the thus far with the three-point takedown? And I still don't think we have enough research. I think you have to go through a whole season before, right? You don't want to jump the gun and say, I like something before, because there's so many scenarios. As Austin Gomez goes big, three-point takedown.
And there's a fall. Oh my goodness, Eric took the words out of our mouth. He couldn't even get a banter going. Wow.
Put 6 on the board for Austin Gomez. So the Michigan Wolverines 19-0 after the first 3 matches.
Well, I told you I gave up getting caffeine. That's the hardest applause that I've heard all day. Oh.
We do have a lot of the Amines behind us.
Yeah, we do. And I'm guilty as charged. I'm one of them. There's a beautiful drag behind there. I was just going to get on him for his offense, and he just basically took the words out of my mouth, that beautiful drag. I think this match is still going to be a very close one. Caleb Fish, a guy that never gives up and wins those close matches, almost sneakily comes back in matches that he's behind. So just because he got taken down out of the whistle does not mean this match is over at any circumstance.
You see Cam Amine with that left leg in deep, figure 4. Keys to getting out of legs.
Yeah, I think keys to getting out of legs for Caleb Fish is don't let him in.
Yeah, elbows tight, right?
Yeah, working with Cameron and working with some of the guys at University of Michigan. It's a thing that they definitely, put a lot of emphasis at Michigan, because you got obviously the #1 wrestler here, Keegan O'Toole, monster on top of leg riding. And if you want to win a national title, you're going to have to figure out how to get out of those legs. So Cameron's been focusing on that a lot, but Caleb Fish, obviously, it looked that he got out of that pretty quick, so Roger Chandler might be doing the same thing. I think this is going to be majority of the match right here. Guys are both of them trying to figure each other out. Caleb, phenomenal from the defensive end, same with Cam Amine, so it's really going to come down to who wants to be the aggressor in this match, Eric. I think Cameron Amine obviously set the tone, but he's got to keep it going, and Caleb's got to kind of get back in this match a little bit, get some shots of his own.
And we were talking earlier about the three-point takedown. I think this is a prime example of a match where it really impacts, because it's always a one-point match. So that was with the two-point takedown. You go three-point takedown, it now turns it into a two-point match, which is a little more comfortable.
Oh, yeah, definitely comfortable for Cameron. But I think what makes Caleb so good is his ability as a hit cam for stalling. His ability to change speeds and get bonus points. I mean, you saw it at the NCAA tournament against Julian Ramirez last year. A match that he was definitely outmatched. You know, he's high 20 seed, and Julian Ramirez being a 3 or 4 seed, and Caleb able to throw him over and pin him. I think that's what makes him so good and so dangerous, and be able to change speeds and get bonus points.
And he is the leader of this team. No question, right?
Oh, no question. I think him and Chase are definitely the guys they're going to lean on. Caleb, just one of those guys, and I've talked to some of the guys, alumni around the Michigan State Wrestling Association. Just does what he's told. Hard-nosed guy, never quits. You know, working after practice. And I mean, if you're going to be an All-American and national champion, that's what it's going to take. And they're really leaning on Caleb Fish this season to get on the podium.
And Fish really making that round of 12 last year was the biggest thing for him. Was showing that he has the ability to compete with the biggest guys, right? You never know you could do it until you're actually there and you see it to achieve it.
Yeah, if you're
and
not, oh, yeah, go ahead.
That's exactly what he did last year. This is where they were, where Amine was against Maryland, not where you want to be.
Yeah, well, they've wrestled in this arena before at the Big Ten Championships. As I said earlier, they've wrestled multiple times, triple overtime, you know, controversial calls, you name it. It's one of those rivalries that has been really centered towards Amine, but I think Caleb Fish definitely has the capability of stealing one. But for Caleb and definitely for Cameron, it's going to be a very close match.
And this is the 5th meeting between these two. Amine has won all 5 meetings, or all 4 meetings coming into tonight.
Yeah, and the beauty about the rivalry is that every match is close. It's not like, you know, it might be lopsided on the victory end, but if you go back and watch the matches, as I said earlier, it's controversial endings, sometimes, you know, crazy endings in overtime. And Caleb's not a guy that gives up a lot of points. So, I mean, maybe a few times I think it's gotten away from Caliendo. Is one of those matches where you'd like to see him wrestle it again. But I think, and he'll see him again this year, obviously, in the Big Ten. Caliendo coming over from North Dakota and now Iowa. But it's always a deadlock. It's close, 3-1, 4-1. And a takedown will put it in overtime.
And Fish starting to pick up the period as it nears 1 minute remaining in period number 2. Amine takedown early in the first and an escape in the second. Fish on the other end, an escape in period number 1 gives us our 4-1 score. 45 ticks left, period number 2.
And the crazy thing is, Eric, is the Big Ten is just so stacked at 165. Other than obviously Keegan O'Toole and David Carr are 2 names that come to mind. But I mean, you look at the Big Ten, you got Caliendo, you got Amine, you got, you know, Caleb Fish. You could go down, you can go on and on. Bubba Wilson. It's just it's a weight class that's just so grueling in the Big Ten. That's why they take 10, 11 guys at 65. So it's going to be a great year to watch 165 pounds again in the Big Ten, and I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss calling it. I'm going to miss watching it. But it's definitely something you appreciate in the wrestling world, having a Big Ten weight class like 165.
That'll do it for period number 2. Choice will go to red. Scratch that. Choice goes green. Fish is going to elect down to start period number 3, down by 3 points.
I'll say that's one of the more underappreciated skills that Caleb Fish has. I rarely ever see him get held down.
No,
he's so quick to his feet. And he has a really good offense. He's just, I think, just wrestling Cameron, watching them wrestle, he's very hesitant to get to it. You go watch him wrestle other matches, he gets to his underhooks and he gets to his singles, but he knows against Cameron Amine, if he makes a mistake, we saw in the first period, it could end bad in a counterattack.
And I think what I like about Fish is he's a guy his foundation is solid, right? You're not going to get fresh fly flashy from Caleb Fish.
Oh, no.
But it's going to be hard-nosed wrestling. And it's what's going to work at an elementary, middle school, high school, college,
100%.
And elite level.
Oh, yes.
It translates. No matter where you go, Caleb Fish's style of wrestling will translate. And as I say, he's not a big move guy. He goes double under.
He goes double under. It's like they're listening to. It's like they have an earpiece and they're listening to us in the broadcast. But I'll tell you one thing: If Mike Caliendo wasn't at Iowa, I would be licking their chops to get this guy in the transfer portal. I mean, that's what he emulates. Hard, hard wrestling, not pretty, but he's going to get the job done.
And I'm just watching the lock underneath of Caleb Fish. He was millimeters away from really committing.
Well, he's going to have to do it. I mean, whether you lose by 5.6 points, I mean, obviously you want the team score, to be close. But I think for Caleb Fish and Cam Amine, it's going to be. This is how it is every time, Eric. One takedown. And Cam's got to be careful because he got warned for stalling earlier in the match.
20 seconds left, period number 3. Cam Amine still up by 2. We go out of bounds. Continuous action. 12.9 is what shows on our clock.
Yeah, I mean, he can give up a stall call. Obviously you don't want to see it, but he can give up that stall call. And as long as he doesn't get hit for fleeing the mat. Oh, and right at the end, Caleb Fish. Wow.
Fish steals it with a takedown with 2 seconds left.
Wow. I mean, like a flash of lightning right at the end, almost waiting for it. I mean, that's why I'd say no lack of swagger for Jaden Bullock. Another guy that's just so calm and collected, and you have almost the opposite of just chaos with Layne Malczewski, just so great at forcing, scramble positions and scoring points where you least expect it. So this one's going to be almost like fire and oil, and you're going to see a lot of fireworks in this match.
And coming in for Jaden Bullock, the biggest thing for him is really having confidence in that right knee. He's had multiple season-ending surgeries, and the thing that Coach Bourmet said as he gets to an underhook throw-by to the right leg, Coach Bourmet said, you're starting to see what we knew Jaden Bullock was capable of without those injuries. This is the guy we recruited.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jaden, I think, took a tough loss. Another one at South Dakota, had a beautiful Vegas tournament, a lot of ranked wins, and I think one of the more surprising one over Dylan Fishback of NC State, but crazy scramble position. As I said, this is what Layne loves to do, to force chaos. And I think it's a similar story on both ends. I think Layne had a couple injuries, at the NCAA tournament, came in, really high on his high horse at a good Big Ten tournament, and kind of flat in Tulsa. So both guys looking to finish this year and kind of prove something that they weren't able to do last year. Jaden kind of, I think, similar story as well at 84. So.
And Layne Malczewski 2-0 against Jaden Bullock, we should mention, as Malczewski comes into this duel with 95 career victories, so 5 shy of reaching that goal of 100 career wins in a green and white singlet, as Bullock with a no-knee touch, high-level single.
That's where you got to be careful when you're Layne. I think he can get away with it, against a couple guys that know how to wrestle and roll around on the mat. But you got to be careful. A guy, Jaden, can change speeds really quickly and kind of wrestles a little bit behind with his hips back. So I think for an adjustment for him later in this match, he's got to be careful doing those roll throughs, because I think Bullock sees him coming.
Yeah, talk about the advantages that you get. Wrestling, you mentioned the style of Layne Malczewski is extremely unconventional, and you can't really train for it. But you get your hands on him one time. How do you approach the match differently the second and third time you wrestle a guy like this, knowing that you felt what he has?
Oh, he's got it. Yeah. For a guy like Layne, it's just, you never know what Layne Malczewski is going to show up. And, I've seen a couple guys, and I feel for him because I had the same problem. It's, you wrestle like that, and people can't prepare for you because they don't know what you're going to do. But the hard thing is that, as you see right there, is get a guy like Jaden Bullock that just knows how to wrestle that style of wrestling, and it almost just shocks you because you're expecting to be able to get it against everybody. So I think that's almost like a point where you got to rely a little on the fundamentals, which Layne has. He's multiple time state champion of Michigan from Macomb, Dakota, but. I think when you're wrestling a guy like Jaden, you got to make that adjustment and go back to the fundamentals, and then maybe you surprise him in the third or second period with something like that. But you can't just rely on that as your sole sense of offense and defense.
And Layne Malczewski picks up a big escape to end period number 2. If you're Jaden Bullock, you have to end that period on top.
Yeah, getting in the second period, I think this is where Layne really strives in his top position. Loves that cross body ride and really wrenches guys. I think that's what got him so far in his career. But I think Jaden, this is really where you got to see for him is where he wants this match to go. Because we saw in South Dakota and a couple times in the Vegas tournament, if a guy gets ahead of him a little bit, that he might think that he's on the match and kind of stops wrestling in that second and third period. But if you're Malczewski, the top position is what you're relying on.
Layne Malczewski, the graduate student you mentioned from Dakota High School, Macomb, Michigan. Last year was 23-12 on the season. Finished the Big Ten championships in 10th place after being seeded 6th. Had to medically forfeit in the 9th and 10th place match due to illness. Then was the 22 seed at the NCAA championships, where he was a qualifier, and we got locking hands.
Yeah, it's just.
I think there was a head and an arm.
You gotta be careful. Oh wow, yeah, this is where Layne's got to be careful. And I think to a point you can't pay attention to what the referee is doing, because now he just gave up a reversal too. And obviously you see a challenge break there, but Eric, you got to wrestle without the referee. I think maybe, do you agree? I saw a little bit of a side headlock and they might challenge that call, but you can't be looking at the referee right there, and I think that's what caught him.
Yeah, so we're going to take a quick look at this from what I saw, and they were facing us.
I think I agree with you. I think it's a side headlock. I didn't see any locking hands, but it was a weird angle from us. And yeah,
I don't know when he
I'm not sure he locked hands there. And that's, I think, Layne looks up really quick, and then that's Jaden just so quick. And I think one of the things that I forgot to mention is you can tell you saw kind of the crowd get in. He loves having fun out there. He reminds me, of a guy like Miles and David Taylor. They're smiling, Bo Nickel, ear to ear, obviously elite wrestlers. And to have fun in a grueling sport like this is a special skill.
That is a special skill. And speaking of someone who's having fun, let's see this. That's just over. So it's draped over. I would say it's below the shoulder blade. So this is going to be an interesting one here.
Yeah, I think that's called on the mat. It's going to be hard to overturn it.
Yeah.
I would like to see that call reversed, but then you're going to have to reverse the action. So obviously Bullock was the one who improvised and took advantage of that position. I hate to say him take that 2 points off the board, but in my opinion, that was not locking hands. And that's tough about that discretion is, he's under that side headlock. And I think that's another rule they want to put emphasis on this year is that side headlock position as a stalling position. But I've really never seen it be called the locking hands. Oh, I think they got him on the roll through.
Oh.
So they got him on the roll through. The side headlock was not where they called him. They called him on the mat return.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Because I don't know if I've ever seen this. Because if you look, Jaden Bullock comes up to his feet.
Almost slips up to the top of the shoulder, so it's
Layne
it's almost like a sneakily locked hands where he had his hands out and he slid it up to a side headlock. So it didn't, I don't, you know me. I'm a big proponent on letting these guys wrestle.
So look at this. He comes up to his feet. His hands are locked here.
Yeah.
So he goes shoulder roll over that left side.
So his hands are locked there. There's locking hands. He's got trap arm gut. If you want to call freestyle to him, but. Yeah, so as soon as he slips that shoulder, that's the crazy thing about wrestling is that it's not a locking hands call when you return to the mat, but he was over that shoulder. So did they wave it off?
Yeah.
Which is the right call. I believe it's the right call. You can't blame him. He's just wrestling. He doesn't know that, it looks different in slowed down speed, but we're wrestling out here. We didn't even catch it.
Yeah. But that's good that they were able to overturn that call. That gives Jaden Bullock, with that reversal, 5-1 advantage. Layne Malczewski down.
He's going to keep trying this chaotic. There it is. He gets 2 back of his own. That's great for Layne. You want to see that. Don't stop doing that stuff. The funk, the scramble wrestling. And just because he gave up that reversal, I'm glad that he got right back to it.
Now Bullock looking to close off on that left side. Layne Malczewski does have the crab right on the right side, and this is where you got to give up 1 rather than giving up 2.
Yeah, and Jaden's so good at wrestling from there. And I think and he jumps over the leg. And he said, if you can do it, I can do it better. And this is where Layne's really good.
Yeah, but this is where Jaden cannot get in a habit of
and he's
trying to
be careful
with Layne.
It's tough because you want to say that, but he got that reversal already in the second period, so he can compete in there. But how many times do you want to take that chance with a guy like Layne Malczewski? If I'm a betting man, maybe once or twice, I'll be like, maybe I'll do a stand-up so I don't get my chin ripped off.
Malczewski with that reversal cuts Jaden Bullock's lead to 5-3, 20 ticks left in period number 2. And it will be Jaden's choice.
Yeah, and if I'm the Michigan coaches, I think I'm going both up.
Sorry, Jaden went down, so it would be Layne's choice.
Okay, so, well, same thing. If I'm the Michigan State coaches, I'm choosing top.
Right.
And I'm going to try to get a turn. Because you're still losing the match if you get an escape. And Jaden's been very hard, obviously, we've seen to take down, and has the only takedown in the match. So
I mean, if I was Bullock here, I would cut him.
I wouldn't mess around. And Jay Boyard screaming on the bench as you see over there, cut him. Yeah. Don't even waste your time on top.
The last thing you want to do is
roll around with him. And I don't know if I feel that call with the Michigan State coaching staff. I think you've just seen the success he had on top. I mean, he was so close to turning him. So I mean, rely on what you're good at, because I think Jaden's so elusive and so hard to score on, and he might even get one of his own on a counterattack. So strategy-wise, I don't know if I agree with the call, but we'll see how it plays out in this last minute and 40 seconds. And Layne's got it. He's got to do something. He's got to try to score. I know it's hard to break through against a guy like Jaden, and you want to be careful of the counterattacks, but you got to try something. Create a scramble, create some chaos.
Has to close the distance here.
Yeah, and that half shot's not going to do it, because now you're wasting time. You're giving away 20, 30 seconds. So, I mean, I highly doubt the refs are going to call stalling on either guy, because both guys have been wrestling really, really well.
And the toughest thing to scramble out of is a double.
Oh, yeah. And Jaden's got a beautiful one.
And beautiful one.
Beautiful. I mean, I just remember watching the Vegas tournament, watching the camera almost get broken on a few of them. It almost reminds me of the Hidley brothers. Yeah, they got that double leg, and they're driving you all the way into the stands.
45 left, period number 3. Bullock needs to hang on.
Oh, beautiful duck, but see, that's Jaden's so good, and almost like his feel. He can feel it coming, which is such a hard skill to adapt to.
30 seconds remaining in the match.
Yeah, Layne's got to figure something out here. He's wasting a lot of time.
Yeah, head's caught underneath.
And his head's caught underneath, and they want to. I know the coaches want a stall call, but even a stall call is not going to do anything. You know, and Jaden he's just so hard to score on, Eric, and I think he's going to get the victory. He's going to get hit for stalling, but he can take the stall call. And Layne almost in a beautiful drive-through double. And as you set it in, there's the double leg.
There it goes.
We were waiting for it.
Tack on 3 more, not only for the ending takedown, but for the Michigan Wolverines with another victory. Final score, Jaden Bullock victorious 8-4 over Layne Malczewski. After coming into this duel 0-.
He doesn't look like a heavyweight. He looks like a weightlifter.
No, he's as solid and consistent as they come.
How do you go from Adam Kuhn to Mason Parris to Lucas Davison? That's every coach's dream.
And Josh Terrill, if you don't know, the greatest story I would say in college wrestling. Growing up, this guy did not have the family life that you would like to have. And the environment that he was being raised in, he didn't like it either. So he came from a tough upbringing in terms of family support in his junior and senior year, moved in with a local Holt family with close-knit ties to the Holt wrestling program, and ended up fully committing himself to wrestling. He didn't feel like he was a D1 athlete, and his grades just from his home life significantly suffered from where they needed to be to become D1 eligible. So he figured he could wrestle in college, but it wouldn't be D1, it would be D2 or D3. Well, the Holt, and you have to give credit where credit is due, in the Holt Athletic Department 100%. Spent a lot of time getting Josh Terrill eligible to become a D1 athlete, and you see that where he's at today from where he was.
Not taking it for granted. I mean, 26 wins. Wow. And this early in the season?
From where he was in 2020 to where he is today. And I asked someone close to this, if they were to give me one word for the upbringing for Josh Terrill, what would it be? And they said it was treacherous. And then I said, so when you say that, you would not expect him to be where he was at? And they said exactly the opposite. When you see what he has done to get to where he's at, he is the most driven kid that I've ever been around. It's him. This is exactly what I expected from this kid.
Well, this is what you live for in college wrestling, stories like that. And he's obviously here, not wasting his opportunity. Like I said, 26 wins. I mean, I've rarely seen that from national champs. That's who you see it from. So, I mean, he's got a bright future ahead of him, and to take that pain and turn it into glory is going to be something to watch. And I'm so excited to follow his story throughout his wrestling career at Michigan State.
And it just, for young fans out there listening, you control your environment, right? It's 100%. Important to set your goals high, continue to maintain them, continue to work, and any adversity that's going to strike, you have to continue to push yourself because it's going to come. Oh, yeah. No one gets there easy.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You see it less, I'd say less painful stories. Yanni Dika, Spencer Lee, torn ACLs, season over. Austin Gomez, another standing issue. Thought his wrestling career was over at Iowa State. Goes to Wisconsin, All-Americans. Now he's here at Michigan. So, I mean, if wrestling exemplifies one sport, just toughness and grit and just, almost grinding through the pain. And, Josh Terrill is one of those guys that represents that perfectly.
As he gives up the takedown, Lucas Davison picks up the three-point takedown to end the first period. 7.2 seconds left. The takedowns in favor of Michigan are 15-3. Josh Terrill limping on that right leg.
He's got it taped, or almost, he's got the Lee brace.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it, but.
Heavy on that right side.
Yeah. Well, we talked a lot about Josh Terrill. Let's talk a little bit about Lucas Davison. Obviously, Keith Davison, his father was an All-American. Andrew, his brother, and him shared time at Northwestern together, and obviously I know Andrew pretty well as a Michigan teammate. And I'd say one of the more standout families and just great people on the mat and off the mat. And Lucas Davison, another guy, engineer. I mean, Michigan is one of those schools where you just get engineer after engineer after engineer at heavyweight. So whoever's stepping in next, I mean, at the heavyweight position, you better be an engineer.
He is a monster of a human.
Yeah, his physique, I mean, you could put him in any sport, and he's going to be an all-star athlete.
As Davison elects to go down to start period number 2, picks up the escape, extends his lead to 4-0.
I think one guy would like to have a word with you on a freak athlete. His initials are GS. I've never seen somebody do a backflip. Gable Stevenson, who's announced he's not coming back this year, so the heavyweight weight class is wide open, in my opinion. I mean, Kirk Fleet obviously the favorite, but a guy like Gable Stevenson that tells you he's not coming back. I mean, you're smiling ear to ear.
Would love to see him come back at some point on the international level, but I still don't see it happening.
Yeah, he's a guy where you blink and you're like, wow, I can't believe I just witnessed that. And I would almost say Michael Jordan-esque of a guy with this athletic ability, and you're like, why did he choose wrestling? And to watch him and Mason go at it and battle over the years, 20 years from now, you're gonna laugh and say, wow, we actually got to watch history.
A beautiful time shot.
Yeah, Lucas has evolved over his career a lot too, and where he started to where he is now obviously an All-American and looking to be another All-American. I think even for him, national champ is the goal this year, and to look at him as a 97-pounder, move up to heavyweight and make that transition and do so well. And now you don't have a roadblock like I said, Mason Paris or Gable Stevenson, now Cassiopeia out of the mix as well. It's not out of the question that you're Michigan and you're training him to be the national champ at 285 pounds.
Short time left, period number 2, as Davison looks to finish the period on top, which will give choice to Josh Terrill. Riding time nearing a minute. We're 12 seconds away. 48 seconds in favor of Davison. Looks like he's going to cut him.
Yeah, and Lucas has a massive gap stake for a heavyweight, and I think this match, if Terrill isn't careful can get really ugly really quickly. We've seen a lot. I mean, Maryland is a great example of that. In the past couple matches with Davison has been that where, you know, you're leading, you know, 6-1, 6-2 in that second period, and it just blows it open in the third period. And if you're the coaching staff, you love that, especially at the NCAA tournament, Big Ten tournament for bonus points.
Speaking of bonus points, Lucas Davison currently 8-1 on the season with 7 bonus point wins.
Yeah, and I think that match in Vegas, his only loss this season, could go, you know, either way to younger Bastida, one of the most athletic heavyweights out there. And almost scratching my head. I wish he was in the Big Ten so I could get to call some of those matches, but I think that match is going to change come the postseason. Because Lucas is a guy who goes back to the drawing board, figures out what he did wrong, and, you know, builds better, and that's what it takes to be a national champion, and he definitely has it in him. And as we see 10-2 lead, and Michigan wants to win a national title this year, which they're very capable of doing, you're going to need guys like Lucas Davison scoring bonus points.
Currently does have the major locked up with 102 on the riding time, leading by 8 points.
Yeah, and you can see in his hand fighting, he just doesn't stop. I mean, he just continually moves forward. And for a heavyweight to have this big of a gas tank is very rare. I mean, Mason Paris is one of them, Greg Kirkfleet, you know, Tony Cassiope, but he's right in that mix of those guys that continually score points at the heavyweight weight class.
30 seconds remaining in the match.
And that, I mean, I think that helps having a guy like Mason Paris in there. And especially with offense, a guy that's so offensive. The bench wants another takedown, and maybe even a pin. I think that moment right there, that split second, tells you what kind of guy he is. You know, looks at Terrill, looks at the ref, and says, "Is he up yet?" You hear a little extracurricular behind this. But this could be, wow, double leg! Whoa!
With
1 second to go! Lucas Davison! Woo!
Puts another takedown on the board, which brings the match score to 19-3. Team score is going to be 26-125. Number 3 ranked Michael Deaugustino for the University of Michigan, and coming out for MSU will be 32nd ranked Tristan Lujan.
Yeah, Mikey's a guy, he will create chaos. And obviously his knees won't thank him after wrestling for that, but so fun to watch and never out of any match, and can pull the rabbit out of a hat from anywhere. And Lujan's a little bit the opposite, likes to be slick. He's a beautiful takedown, but Lujan likes to be slick, likes to wrestle in that front headlock position, try to run around you. Reminds you of a guy that you know, Javier Gasca, quick takedowns, and it's going to be an interesting matchup at 125 if Lujan's going to be able to wrestle on the mat with Mike Deaugustino.
Deaugustino picking up that first early takedown.
Yeah, this is where Mike's so tough in this top position, because he's going to get back to his feet, but didn't show you, but he's a monster on top, loves his halves, loves wrenching guys' shoulders, and just an all-around complete wrestler you want to see at 125 pounds.
Not to mention the greatest beard in college wrestling.
Yeah, talking to Mike, you know, he said I'm growing it out the whole season. I thought he was lying, but he said he's growing out his beard, his hair. I don't know if the coaches and the officials will let him do it, but we'll see how far he gets throughout the season. It's only January, and you got till March.
Lujan in deep on what most would call a high crotch head outside single.
Ben Askren Jr., I mean, we might be able to call him. He might need a hairnet by the time it hits March. He kind of wrestles like Askren a little bit, so maybe you know, the hair matches the name. Yeah, he likes those scramble positions, likes to do cradles, score points, and just, I'd say, the weirdest fashion that you could see possible. I think that's the best way you could put it. Hey, go watch his matches. Him and Jack Medley used to go back at it. Obviously, Jack, a Michigan alumni, and those matches were always so crazy to watch because Mike Mike would put him on his back, and then Jack would get 2, and then Mike would put him on. It's just, as a wrestling fan, you love to see it, but if you don't know wrestling, you're like, what the heck is going on? And he's another guy on Michigan's team. You see his leg tape, dealing with an injury this year. Seen him in and out of the lineup. So you hope to see a healthy Mike Deaugustino if you're the Michigan coaching staff going into March.
Yeah, and limiting the matches is key, right? You have to understand what's important for Big Ten seeding. Because when you get to his age, 4-time NCAA qualifier, All-American, he's a guy that has been around.
You don't need all those matches.
No.
It's more about preserving the matches, getting the key wins that you need. Wrestling in the big ranking matches for the seeding of the tournament.
What's optimal, do you think?
If I'm a coach and I'm looking at this season and I'm looking at, after the COVID season's changed a little bit with these guys, you get older wrestlers in the mix that might have that extra year, which Deaugustino can, and a few of those guys qualified for. So I remember watching an interview with Evan Wick and him talking about it. It's just about limiting exposure, the hard workouts, and being smart and training almost like an Olympian. And I think the coaching staff realizes that with these older guys and getting, I'd say maybe 20 matches in the year. You go to the open tournaments, get that tournament simulation, and you wrestle a little bit in the Big Ten season. So I think that's where you got to sit 20-ish matches for the older guys. And obviously, younger guys, you want to bump that up 30 matches, 40 matches, get as much exposure as you need. But with an injury like that, you might need to wrestle for Big Ten season. So you don't really have an option for the RPI. So it'll be interesting to see with this Michigan team, the guys that have injuries, to see how often we see them in the lineup.
And when Franklin Gomez was wrestling at Michigan State, the year he won his NCAA title, his goal was to get 10 to 15 matches, is where he felt comfortable.
Franklin Gomez is a peculiar individual. I mean, I talk about 2 guys from 2 different programs, Franklin Gomez and Kellen Russell, that can wrestle by, I'd say, the thin of a hair and be able to score on what, those 2 guys to watch, those 2 guys come through the programs is once in a lifetime you get to see Franklin Gomez and Kellen Russell. So 10, 11 matches for him might be 30 for somebody else.
As another shot. Lujan has to close the distance on these shots.
Yeah.
He's getting caught underneath too much.
I think you got to adjust your strategy after, taking those low shots. You don't want to pay the price. You paid the price earlier in the match, giving up a counterattack. So for him, it's, you got to figure out how to break through Deaugustino. It might be upper body. It might be your ducks. It might be your underhooks. But it's definitely not those low shots. Deaugustino can see him telegraphed and see him coming.
But it's also, it doesn't show up on the scoreboard, but from a power standpoint and energy, it takes a lot out of you fighting from underneath.
Deaugustino is also a big 25-pounder. He's big at this weight class, so you could see, the weight kind of getting out of Lujan as well. Haven't really seen it in the top position, but if Deaugustino gets one more of these takedowns, you'll start to see him definitely feel that in that third period. And that's where Mike, I think, he's got to be careful. He loves wrestling that chaos and had almost a for sure takedown there, Eric. You want to see a little more fundamental skills out of Deaugustino. So Lujan was smart, kind of wrestled to his position, and now wrestled his way almost into a takedown. And he's got to be careful.
Yeah, he does. He's going to be okay here. 3 seconds left. He's going to get out of this period.
Wow.
That was close.
Well, maybe if I'm Deaugustino, my game plan changes a little bit. You're up 4-1. Team scores already locked away. Just get out of here with the victory. Yeah, you'd like to see Lujan break that grip. Tried to grab it at the wrist. Probably better off peeling the fingers, and would have put himself exactly right back in this match, 4-4, but Deaugustino did a really good job of hanging on.
First time hearing Kevin Jackson over in the corner. He hasn't been as vocal as he normally is.
Yeah, I think he's beat up about that loss for Cameron. He's one of Cameron's close coaches, so I mean, the dual meet's locked up, but a couple matches you got to go back to the drawing board because Amine and Fish, Malczewski and Bullock, those premier matches are going to be ones we'll see at the Big Ten tournament. So a little bit of enthusiasm could be a little bit of disappointment as well. This match is a lot closer than I think a lot of people thought. I mean, 3 versus 33, and a takedown would, it's almost like the fish match. 42, minute 20 to go. Now, Lujan's quick and can get around, and Deaugustino's had a lot of offense, but Lujan's escaped a few times. We'll see how it gets down to the wire here, Eric.
One minute remaining. And now you're starting to see a sense of urgency from Tristan. He's going to have to get out of this tie, break containment, figure out where he needs to. Stalemate.
Yeah, and it can't be off Deaugustino's shots. I mean, he's got to find offense of his own. He got lucky in that second period that he was able to scramble through that, but he's got to find offense of his own, or, I mean, it's going to end 4-2. And Bullock, we saw this with Cam Amine. I mean, coming down to the wire, you really got to have a sense of urgency. And we saw with Bullock, you know, getting the takedown at the end, and Fish getting the takedown at the end. The guy that's going to be the aggressor is going to win the match. And beautiful duck buys, I just said that to seal it.
And that'll seal the match at 7-2.
Yeah, barring anything crazy here, but Deaugustino's been in this position so many times, and a gritty 7-3 win against the in-state rival.
So Deaugustino takes out Tristan Lujan 7-3.